different programs that we have.
Okay.
Talk about.
We've just been talking here. We're talking with Jesse Brinkmann today. Jesse is the superintendent of the Algoma schools, and this program is Your City, Your County. And we're doing this program on March 6th, so we'll be talking about some of the programs that are coming up and some of the big activities. It seems to me, Jesse, like, and welcome.
Well, thank you for
We always
having me.
have to do
Thank
that.
you.
Yes. But it seems like one of the big things is the facility improvement referendum, which is coming up on what date?
April 2nd. So if you go to the polls or if you request a ballot early, you will see a question on the ballot, pertaining to the Algoma School District in our upcoming facility referendum question. So,
Okay, very good. Well, you have a pretty good spiel, I understand, and you've been meeting with a lot of people.
yes. So my goal right now up until the election is to really get out and just educate the community as much as I can on what the referendum all includes, what some of our needs are across the district, and how we will address those with some solutions. So, but Bob, I got a question for you actually.
Okay.
When you hear about the Algoma School District, what comes to your mind?
I think of the area that you have the theater, certainly,
Yes.
for over in the elementary school.
Yes, our wonderful Performing Arts Center.
Yes, I've been over there a few times and seen that. I always think of the high school and what a good high school it is. Not only the physical plant, which things need to be upgraded sometimes, but a nice facility over there. And having worked with the school districts around the area some years ago, the one thing that I always thought was that whether you're in Door County or Kewaunee County, that all the school districts in this area are exceptionally good. And they always win good awards, and the kids do well, and there's no school in the two counties that I would ever say, oh, you sure don't want to go there. I just think that is good, and the cooperation that the various districts,
Yeah.
including Algoma, have throughout the community.
Absolutely, yeah. So very proud of what we have in here in Algoma School District. Some things that come to mind that you're probably familiar with or have heard about is our Wolf Den program. So our mentoring program where our elementary students are paired with some high school students. They work after school on academic, social, emotional learning. They receive a warm meal each night. We also have full day, 5 days a week, 4-year-old kindergarten or 4K program, which is very unique to a school district. Most school districts have part-time, half-day, or maybe a 4-day week program, but we offer 5 days a week, full days in Algoma.
That's great.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, I know, I look back on, what I did in kindergarten. That's what I was called it, of course. But, it was half a day, and I think I went I think I must have gone in the morning. I don't know. I can't even remember that. But times change, and we progress, and we talk more about electronics and computers and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So I know things are changing.
They are. And as a school district, we just are constantly trying to keep up with all the changes that are happening in the world. So I'd like to get in a little bit about what the referendum all includes. So
Okay.
I've got a slideshow that we'll put up here on the screen so viewers can follow along with the information and refer to it. So we'll talk a little bit about the planning process that's gone into where we're at to this point, what some of our critical needs are across the district. We'll talk a little bit about some community input that has been kind of guided the work that we've done, some solutions that we've come up with to address our needs, and then a little bit about the fiscal responsibility of the district. So,
And I know one of the things that I've always known about schools is that you can't get up there and say, you got to vote for this. But your job is more professionally to present the options and and what various people have come up with.
Exactly, yeah. My job right now is to just educate, inform the public on what's included, what goes into it, and let the voters make an informed decision when they go and vote on April 2nd or earlier if they do an absentee ballot.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, so they can do either one.
Mhm.
Cool.
So, this process really began back in November of 22. That's when our school board looked at our financial needs long term and looked at what some of our needs were starting to pop up across the district in terms of facilities. We brought in McKinstry and Balin Builders as partners for some of this work, and they took about 6 months and completed a comprehensive facility study of all of our buildings across the district. They looked at everything from plumbing to electrical to roofs to our HVAC system to how our spaces are used for educational purposes. And those findings then were presented to the board in July of 23, so this last summer. The board then wanted to gather more input from community around the facility study, and so they formed a community advisory committee. And it was made up of about 35 members in the community.
That's good. You get a good cross section of people, and I'm sure you had
Yes.
a lot of different feelings.
Absolutely. It was great to have that representation from all the different groups. And I'll talk a little more specifically about what some of the work that this group did later on here in the presentation. But they met 3 times in September. They kind of made some recommendations to the board to consider then in fall. But the school board really wanted more input from the community. And that's when a community survey was mailed out to all the residents in the school district. And we collected that information and that feedback and looked at it closely, again with the Community Advisory Committee, but then also the board looked at it.
I hate to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but did you get a pretty good response from the community?
We had a wonderful response, yeah, and I'll talk a little bit about what those results showed and the number of respondents that we had here in a little bit, but it was
Okay.
very pleasing to see that, so.
Mhm. Good.
And that kind of led us up to January then here in 24, and that's when the board really decided to move forward with the referendum based off of the information that they received.
So there's been quite a bit of study, and I'm sure that the builders talked with probably the teachers, the administration,
Correct.
the staff,
Mhm.
to find out, well, what do you really need here?
Yes, it's been a very comprehensive look at everything. So, but the facility study that was completed had showed some areas of concern across the district. We saw that we needed to enhance our spaces for the educational programs that we currently are offering. We needed to look closely at our safety and security measures that we have across the district in terms of our entrances and our classroom spaces. We know our infrastructure, our buildings are aging, so we look primarily at the plumbing and the roof at the elementary school. We saw a need for some more storage in our gymnasium at the elementary school. Our track resurfacing our track surface has outlived its life. It's 20 plus years old. And so that is deteriorating and creates a safety concern with that. Our parking lot at the middle school and high school also is nearing its end of life, and so it could be resurfaced. We also looked at some energy efficiency needs across the district, particularly at the Performing Arts Center or the PAC at the elementary school. The audio and lighting is currently running on an analog system. And then our playground at the elementary school lacks accessibility for students that have mobility issues. So students in wheelchairs are not able to access the equipment on the playground.
I've seen a couple of places where I'm thinking like Peninsula Park, Sturgeon Bay. I know there's one area that has the real soft ground. So, seemed to me like when I was a kid that everybody was always falling on the rocks or the
Yes.
or the blacktop, and it didn't work out real well.
Right,
So this
right.
is probably something that needs to be done.
Correct. So we'll talk a little bit about a solution to that.
Okay.
So when we get into looking specifically at our middle school and high school, the picture that you can see on the slide here is of our front entrance. And when visitors, parents, community members come into our building, you can see that they're not directed right into the main office to sign in. They're they have access basically into the building if the extra set of doors here into the hallway is open or if someone is exiting out. So it creates a safety concern.
Mm-hmm.
So
That seems to be true throughout the country, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That people are looking much more at that than they would have years
it
ago.
is, yeah. School safety is a big area that many districts are looking at. So.
Mm-hmm.
The next slide here shows our band and choir rooms, and you can see the number of chairs and music stands and the equipment that goes into having a band program. Fun fact for you, Bob, 80% of our students in our school district participate in some type of music program, whether it's band or
Really?
choir.
Wow.
80%.
Wow.
So that's
So I could bring my clarinet over?
you would fit right in, right?
The old thing's rusting in the attic
Yeah.
right now, I think.
So the space that we currently use for band right now is it's too small for the number
Mhm.
of students that are in our program.
It looks like it's kind of crowded there in the picture.
So, and then the next picture we have here is some restrooms at the middle school and high school. Not all of our restrooms are ADA accessible, so meaning they don't always have the push button. Some of the stalls are not large enough for wheelchairs to maneuver around in, so that is something we are looking at trying to find a solution for. The next picture here is of a window that is at the middle school and high school. This is the exterior of the window. It's actually our art room, and you can see how that wood is rotting away along the side of that window. You can actually, I've been up there to look at this myself, and you can actually stick your hand directly into that, in just because the wood is just deteriorated so fast.
Yeah.
So-
That doesn't look good at all.
No. So we get into a little bit about our Algoma Venture Academy, or AVA, and that is our charter school at the middle school and high school. It serves students 7th through 12th grade. It's project-based learning. Right now they're split between 3 different areas in the building, 3 separate classroom areas. And so we would like to give them a dedicated space just for their program that they can call home. So.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And then we have a wonderful tech ed program in Algoma. You've probably heard of Wolf Tech. The next couple slides here are pictures of their space and what equipment they use for metals and woods. We're also excited to expand and create an agricultural program that will be starting up next year in the district. And we're going to focus primarily on precision ag, so technology related things.
Do you
with
find
agriculture.
that a number of your students are involved in agriculture on the family farm or doing work in the summer?
Yes, and that was a driving factor in wanting to start this program up. Student interest was definitely there. We just had our course sign up for next school year, and so we've already got kids signed up for the courses that we'll be offering for next year around agriculture.
Cool.
But
And you sometimes think, oh, Algoma is just, it's a city, and you don't think of the outlying areas where kids would be involved.
Yeah.
So, sounds like a
So-
good learning experience.
yeah, so Algoma has 5 municipalities that we serve in our district. So we've got the city of Algoma, we've got town of Anape, town of Pierce, town of Lincoln, and town of Casco. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow. That's more than I thought.
Yep. And so along with the ag program that we're starting up for next year, we need to create a classroom and a lab space for this, for the teacher and for the students to be working in. So
Mm-hmm. Cool.
the next picture here is of our current track that is located at the middle school and high school. And you can see it's a rubberized surface. With wear and tear and the harsh winters we have here, it's just kind of deteriorated, and it creates a safety concern because there are holes in it and students are running and tripping on it, so we want to address that need.
Do they still jump over hurdles these days?
They do.
Oh,
they do.
gosh. Oh, that
They
was
do it all.
terrible.
High
that
jump
was
and
why
all
you
that.
put a
Pole vault.
block in the middle of the. But I know a lot of people enjoy that.
Yes,
So
they
I'm
do.
not critical of it.
Yeah.
It's just that I never tried it. I mean, I probably stumbled over it. You wouldn't want me doing that.
The next picture here is of our parking lot at the middle school and high school. Just like our roads here in Wisconsin deteriorate, so do our parking lots. So we want to address this need at the district. Then we get into our elementary school, and you can see that this is a picture of our part of our playground at the elementary school. In this communication board that we have in place was through a generous donation of a alumni who is now a parent and has a student or a child with special needs. He reached out to the school district and said, I would like to create a donation in honor of my son who has special needs, and I would like it to go towards a specific population of students in the district that have special needs. So we created this communication board, and it's a board that has pictures and words on it for our students that are nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they can do is go up and touch the pictures and communicate with their friends or communicate with their staff members that are out there. They can say, I want to play with you, or I am hurt, or will you get this piece of equipment for me, basically. It's a really great tool that we have, but you can see below it is wood chips underneath it.
Yeah.
And that creates a accessibility issue for our students that are in wheelchairs or have difficulty just with mobility. And so that's an area of need that we have.
That's very interesting. I've never seen a board quite like that before.
Yeah, it's becoming more common. Other districts are putting them in, but it's a great tool to have. So
That's wonderful. And we certainly want to make school accessible and do the best job that we can with the students.
absolutely. As a former special education teacher myself, I believe all students can learn, and we just have to give them the opportunity. So
Mhm. And make it kind of fun.
exactly. School is always fun.
Oh, yeah.
So, the next pictures here that we have are at the elementary school, and these are pictures of some pipes, cast iron pipes that we have. These pictures are located within a storage room that is off of classrooms, and you can see how the pipes have just deteriorated.
Yeah.
They're leaking, and they're also emanating some odors that are coming out of those that are not pleasant, I would say.
How nice.
So it's not easy for students to be learning and for teachers to be teaching when they're smelling this throughout the day.
Well, I would imagine.
So
Yeah.
these pipes are original to the building. Do you know when the elementary school was built?
I would guess 1910, maybe, something like that.
Kind of close, 1930. So the
30,
building is
okay.
94 years old.
Yeah.
And it was the only school, I believe, a public school in the district. It housed K through 12 at one point until
Mhm.
the new middle school and high school was built. So,
Yeah.
but these pipes are 94 years old, so you
Mhm.
can imagine the wear and tear on these over 94 years old. So,
Well, that's even older than I am.
so.
Well, anyway, let's move on.
All right. The other two pictures here below those pipes are ceiling tiles and pictures of the walls at the elementary school. And you can see the water damage that's been created because of our roof that is leaking, or portions of the roof at the elementary school that are leaking. So,
Yeah.
continuing on at the elementary school, we have some pictures of our wonderful Performing Arts Center, the PAC. Like I said earlier, all of our sound system and our lighting are all operating on an analog system. So it's outdated, and it's created an issue for when our performances are happening, whether they're musical or band or choir concerts. It's sometimes often hard to hear students perform. They put a lot of time and energy and practice into these performances, and we want to make sure that they're well received by the audience. So.
What's the difference between the analog and the new system that you're going to be installing?
Yes, so that's part of one of the solutions, but we'd be looking at a digital system.
Okay.
So upgraded.
All right.
All right, I'd like to talk a little bit about some community input that we've had. We had, like I said, about 35 members of the community join or participate in a community advisory committee. It ranged from parents, grandparents, local elected officials, staff members, school board members, business owners here in the area. And we met 3 times in September. They reviewed our facility study that was completed by McKinstry and Balin. They toured our buildings to see firsthand some of the needs that we had across the building. We looked closely at the community usage across our buildings, seeing how members of the public are using our school buildings. We look closely at the financial implications of a referendum would be. And then they finally made a recommendation that went to the full board for a review. After that, the school board wanted more input from the community, and that's when this survey was sent out to all households in November. And we asked multiple questions on that survey. There was a base plan question, and I'm happy to say that 69% of the respondents from this survey came back as favorable, meaning they were responded that they were definitely yes or probably yes in support of moving forward with a base plan or a referendum in spring. We also asked 2 additional questions on the survey. One was to seek input on a indoor baseball and softball facility, a practice facility, and then also for a bus garage.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the percentages for those came out at lower than what the base plan was, so the board decided not to move forward with including those in the referendum.
Mhm.
So,
And that's something you can look at down the road sometime. A
exactly.
little further down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we had 19% of the community of the surveys come back. I think that is a very positive number to have that and show that our community really cares about our public schools and our students here in Algoma. So.
And I watch a lot of TV news and so on, and they're always showing the elections as they're coming up, you know,
Mhm.
with the various candidates. 69% is higher than a lot of people get in those surveys.
It was very welcome to see that. Yeah.
That's good.
So,
That's good response.
yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about some fiscal responsibility that the district has done over the last couple of years. This is obviously a question that's on many of people's minds: is what kind of impact is this referendum going to have on me as a taxpayer? So I'd like to address that. The graph that you are going to see here on the screen is of our mill rate for the school district. And the mill rate is a certain amount that you pay based off of the property value of your home. So the first thing that you notice with this bar graph here is how the amounts have gone down over the last 3 years.
Mhm.
So in 21-22, the mill rate was $8.67. In 22-23, the mill rate was $7.40. And in 23-24, the mill rate was $6.76. Our board, trying to be fiscally responsible, knew that the property values were increasing. Algoma was reassessed, I believe, 2 years ago, and so property values obviously increased because of that. So that's why they decided that they needed to drop that mill rate, because property values were going up, to stabilize that.
Sure.
And make sure that the taxpayers weren't having a bigger burden on them. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what part of this graph makes up here in 23-24 is what our existing debt is for the school district. And so we as a district have paid that debt off early. And the purpose of that was to save our taxpayers the amount of interest that we've been paying on our debt. So we've saved about $180,000 in interest payments
Oh,
that we
that's-
would have had.
That's quite a bit.
So
That's
yeah.
great.
So now that we've paid off that debt early, what I can confidently say is this referendum, if it were to pass, would replace that existing debt that we had. So the amount that we levy, or we ask our taxpayers to pay, will still stay stable. And so that's where those yellow pieces of the graph come into play. That's where that new debt would fall. And you can see how that mill rate would stay stable then going forward, all the
Mhm.
way through basically 2043-44 school year, because it would be
Okay.
a 20-year bond that we'd be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay. That always surprised me when you know I was involved with the school board, you know, a different school district. But they'd say, well, you know, it's not going to cost anybody any more than what you're paying right now, and you go, how did they do that? You know,
Right.
but it makes sense when you can see charts like this.
School finance is very complicated, that is for
Mhm.
sure. I would like to just remind that this referendum is specifically for fiscal or facility needs. We are not looking for taxpayers to help with operational costs such as teacher salaries, benefits, just heating, electrical, those types of things. These are specifically for just addressing the facility needs that we have across the district.
Just buildings, basically,
Mhm.
and the facilities that are involved with the buildings. And things get old, they wear out.
Right, right. I always give the example of if you have an outlet that goes out in your home, you're able to go to the hardware store and typically replace that outlet. If you have your whole electrical system go out in your house, that's a much larger cost. And so to be able to afford to do that, some people have to go to a bank and get a loan for that. The needs that we have across the district right now with our plumbing, our roofing, the educational spaces, those are all larger costs than what we can fit in our annual budget. So that's what we are hoping to accomplish with this referendum.
Okay.
So,
Well, that sounds like you've got a good project coming up.
so I want to talk a little bit about some of the solutions, if I can.
Okay.
I know we're running a little bit short here on time.
That's okay.
but-
Don't worry.
So
We can fill it in.
the
It'll be
base plan that we received majority of our support for is $10,050,000, and so that's the amount that will be on the ballot, asking our voters to vote on. And so what that money is going to go towards is these solutions. The first and primary focus that we're going to look at is replacing the failing sewer pipes at the elementary school, along with the oldest and leaking portions of the roof. And the other items that are listed here on the next few slides are in no particular order of necessity, but they will be addressed over time. So with this referendum, and that would be including replacing the audio and lighting system at the Performing Arts Center, as well as looking at replacing the ceiling tiles for some acoustical reasons. Upgrading our playground surface to have it be a rubberized surface. Very familiar, if you're familiar with Miracle Field in Green Bay, it's a rubberized padded surface. Wheelchairs can easily roll over the top of it, and so that's what we're looking to install underneath our playground equipment.
Great.
Then when we get to the middle school and high school, we're looking at creating a more secure entrance. We're hoping to put a wall in our entrance that would direct visitors when they come into the building directly into the office, where they would sign in. We would do a quick security check to make sure that they're allowed to be in the building, give them a visitor access badge, and then they can continue on into the building. So. We're also looking at relocating some classroom spaces, and this includes our band and choir spaces, our tech ed space, our upcoming agriculture classroom, the charter school, Algoma Venture Academy, as well as creating a space for special education. And so these kind of all tie together. The best way I can describe it is our existing band and choir room right now is in the center of the building. We would like to move them off to the side of the building for many reasons, more space being one of it, larger space to accommodate the number of kids in there, but also to reduce the amount of sound that the students are creating when they're doing their performances and practices. It's great to have these students involved, but you can imagine when 80% of your students are included in some type of music, the amount of sound that it generates across the building.
It has to reverberate.
Exactly.
I would think.
So we would move the band and choir room into where our current wood shop is. And so that would shift then our tech ed space down, taking over the existing space of where our Algoma Venture Academy is. And then Algoma Venture Academy would be moved into where the current band and choir room is then. So they would have one dedicated space to work out of. So. And then I want to talk a little bit about the track. We would look to resurface that for safety reasons. We'd replace those inefficient windows and doors that we have across the district. And then we would remodel some restrooms, so making sure that they're ADA compliant as well. And then across the district, we would look at upgrading some network, so improve our internet security access and communications across the district. This is a big one for me. We would be looking at rekeying all of our interior and exterior doors across the building, or buildings. We have some wonderful volunteers and coaches that have worked in our district, giving a lot of time and energy to our students, our children. But unfortunately, when they sign up, they're often given a key to access our facilities, And over the last number of years, we just don't have a good handle on who has access to the
Sure,
buildings and the
you
keys and
bet,
stuff.
yeah.
So
Right.
want to just kind of a fresh start with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then looking at some energy efficiency upgrades, making sure we have LED lighting across our district, some water conservations in our restrooms, and looking at the walk-in coolers. So
Walk-in cool. Oh, I suppose to keep
for our
the-
kitchens.
For the
and-
kitchen,
Mhm.
of course. Yeah.
Exactly. So the additional projects that I mentioned that were also part of the community survey, like I said, the board decided not to move forward with those. So the bus garage and the indoor practice facility for baseball and softball are not included in this referendum question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you are saving some money over what it might have been.
Correct. Yeah, we listened to the community, and there just was not
Mhm.
support for that at this point.
Yeah.
So the board decided not to move forward with that. So.
Sure.
The question that you see on your screen is the actual ballot question that will be on the April 2nd voting. And you can read through it. It's quite lengthy, but we want to make sure our community members have seen it prior to when they go to the polls. And then lastly, we have some informational sessions that are open to the public. We want to invite our community in to see firsthand what our buildings are looking like and what some of our needs are. So I welcome the community to tour our elementary school on March 12th from 5 to 6 o'clock p.m. We'll meet at the front entrance, and then we'll do an informational presentation from 6 to 7 in the Performing Arts Center at the elementary school. And we'll have some representation from Bayland Builders, McKinstry, Baird Finances, who's kind of guiding some of the work behind the scenes on the finance piece. They will all have representatives at the meeting, be able to answer questions too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a second presentation and tour on March 21st, a Thursday. We'll tour the middle school and high school from 5 to 6. And then we'll follow that up with a informational presentation in the library at the middle school and high school from 6 to 7.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
and then I welcome any questions that community members have. If they would like to sit down and learn more and have some questions answered, my contact information is on the screen, and they're welcome to reach out. So,
Okay. That sounds great. Well, we wish you the best with this. We thank you so much for being here today and for explaining this, and sounds pretty exciting. And the vote again is April 2nd,
April 2nd.
2024, and I can't think of anything else unless
All right.
there's anything we've missed, and I think you've covered the waterfront.
Bob, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks so much, Jesse.
All right.
We've been speaking with Jesse Brinkmann, who's the superintendent of the Algoma School District, and talking about the referendum for facility improvements coming up on April 2nd, 2024. And that's going to do it for your city, your county for today. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. So long.